Good evening. Hello, folks. This is the Metal Hammer of Doom, and I am your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And if you've been missing me at all, I am back. I know I've been away for quite some time, and well, let me tell you why. I know I live in Florida, sunny Florida, and you might be thinking, well, you live in Florida, you can go to Disney whenever you want, and that would be true. I live about 45 minutes away from Disney. But even when you decide, oh well, I can go to Disney whenever I feel like it. If you choose to go to Disney 4 out of 5 days in a week, little staycation, you might find yourself in a situation where it's like being on a vacation, and if you're going to do that, I've got a few simple rules here I want to share with you really quick. And I didn't follow these rules, and that's why I was not able to be on the show 2 weeks ago. See? Number one, if you're going to Disney, and I know people, this is their week vacation, their family vacation, and so they're spending a lot of money to have that magical experience, and so they want to, they come with big agendas. They got a lot of things they want to do. That's your first mistake. It's fucking Disneyland, Disney World, man. There's no way you're getting everything done. Come with a realistic agenda. Figure you're going to get 2 or 3 things done per day that you might want to do. Focus on those things, and then everything after that is gravy. Okay? I don't know. You ever walked around some of these parks and you see these families and they're trying to pack a lot into one day. Kids look like kids are just crying and wanting to go back to the hotel pool. That's why. Okay? It's hot here in Florida. The parks are big. The lines are long, even with the fast pass. Come with a realistic, small agenda, 2 or 3 things, and then after that, whatever you do, whatever. When the kids start crying, take them back to the damn pool at the hotel. That's the rule. In any case, that's what I ended up doing. I had friends coming into town, and we spent the week with them. And frankly, when it was over, I just couldn't. So Robert Cooper and Jesse Starcher held it down for me. They talked about the new Orange Goblin. I wish I could have been here, but I was exhausted. So let me bring out the man who held it down for me now, co-host here on the Metal Hammer of Doom, Mr. Robert Cooper. How do you do, sir?
Doing pretty good-ish. I'm tired. School, work, but just like Jesse and I talked about last week, or 2 weeks ago, the public library, it's a good place.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any context here, sir. I don't know what you're talking about. But yes, the public library, I suppose, is a wonderful place.
Oh. You didn't listen to that episode?
I have not had an opportunity to listen to that episode, sir. I apologize.
Last 15 minutes. Blog Talk kicked both of us off. I couldn't even finish my plugs, but we spent the last 15 minutes talking about how the public library is awesome. Funny, me and Jesse get together, we talk bullshit for the last 20 minutes.
On election day, my wife and I, not yesterday, actually. We went and I don't know if they have early voting in North Carolina. They have early voting here in Florida. So we early voted on a Sunday, and we took the kids with us, and our polling station was at our library. So we let Jonas crawl around. He's 7 months today, by the way. We let Jonas crawl around the children's part of the library, and we let Lily kind of run around and pick out books that she can't read just yet. So yeah, it was a magical day. Excuse me. It was a magical day at the public library for the Radulich children.
Huh, of course. Like, library is the best place, and you can get, like, stuff everywhere. Yeah, I've been reading Japanese comics the whole time. Just what I need, more Japanese things.
So, are you at the library because you're in your last year of college and you have, like, thesis to do or something, or what?
No, it's because they're fun. Like, I get manga and video games, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I read all my comic books on either my Kindle app or my Marvel app.
Yeah, I go and get like the physical copies because it's a lot easier for me to read. Yeah, it's a lot easier for me to read the book because if I'm not reading the book, I'll get distracted. Like if I do it on a computer, I'll get sidetracked.
I ain't got time for that.
Anybody got time for that?
People who have been following the Metal Hammer of Doom recently with all of the vast schedule changes and whatnot going on here in the old Radulich and broadcasting, originally we had scheduled the new Primus album, Primus and the Fungi Empire Orchestra, whatever it was called, and it was the entire Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. They covered the whole thing. It was a fun listen. I've listened to it. It's good. I would recommend it, especially if you're a fan of the actual Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory soundtrack. But we're not going to do it here on the show because I didn't realize that the new Slipknot album was coming out when it did when I made the schedule. So we bumped Primus off the schedule in favor of doing the new Slipknot, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. Slipknot 5, The Gray Chapter. And
actually, 0.5, The Gray Chapter.
What I just said?
I thought you said 5.
Yeah, Slipknot 5, The Gray Chapter.
Oh, I thought it was like 0.5 or something. I don't know.
Oh, for God's sake. 0.5, The Gray Chapter. You happy?
Big. There's a 4.5 point difference.
Ooh. Anywho.
As a man who once failed a Spanish class by 1 point, every point counts.
Everything counts. Sorry. Got a little Depeche Mode in my mind. In any case, so we are going to talk about that tonight. In actually just a few moments, we'll start playing tracks from the new album, 0.5, The Gray Chapter. But I want to take a minute here. I swear to God, I'm not going to talk about Disney World anymore. I do want to take a minute to just kind of thank Jesse and Robert and everybody here at the Radulich and Broadcasting Network for kind of holding the place together while I've been unable to do a lot of shows. And going forward, we'll be able to continue to do shows. Some times might change, but my schedule is going to be a little crazy going forward, but I got some news this past week, which means that I found out that I'm not going to be working until 11 o'clock anymore. I'll be working to 7. So starting probably in January, because I think I just need to get through the holidays. Starting in January, we'll go back to a full podcasting schedule, and the time should be what they've always been. Some shows are still not happening. A lot of the Long Road to Ruin stuff is probably not going to happen towards the end of the year. I'll probably end up doing just Gremlins because I promised Jesse Starcher. But I think that's all we're going to have time for. So I appreciate people's patience with that and with this, and I really appreciate Jesse kind of stepping up. If you haven't had an opportunity to yet, and judging by the numbers, I'm sure many of you have, you should check out his Source Material show where he reviews comic book stories. It's a great show. I've actually learned quite a bit because there was a long stretch of time where I didn't read comic books at all. So he just did a whole show on the House of M with Radulich and Broadcasting, new show, the Screaming Boy podcast. Ronnie from the Screaming Boy podcast was on the show, and they both talked about the House of M, which is something I've been interested in because it gets referenced a lot, but it's not a storyline I've read before. So anyway, big thank you, and to all of you out there. We are gonna straighten some things out and move forward, but it's just taking a little bit of time. I'm going through a job change right now, and I just kind of got to get things settled and get through the holidays, and we'll get back to the excellence of execution, the excellence in podcasting here at the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. So with that said.
Stupid Blog Talk Radio, by the way. Fuck you, Blog Talk.
Well, all right. Wait a minute now. I'm trying to get started here. What's your problem?
Oh, just them making the whole one podcast a day thing. Pain in the ass.
Yeah, well, everyone wants to chip in more money. My wife told me, like, if you start spending more money on Blog Talk Radio, we're going to divorce. So I'm like, oh, well, that's reasonable.
Oh, yeah, I don't blame them. No, it's just annoying. They keep putting things behind the paywalls, bastards. Oh well, I'll have to take every empty spot I can and post more Japanese children show podcasts. Yes.
Yeah, gotta do what you gotta do. All right. So as I said, once I saw that there was a new Slipknot coming out, I know Robert Cooper is not the hugest fan of Slipknot, but I loves me some Slipknot. So I was very excited, and they released singles, almost the entire album, one track at a time, right up until the release date when the whole thing got released. And I was I tried to actually stay away from the album until the whole thing came out and listen to it at once. And let me first go ahead and say, we're going to listen to every track here tonight, but my first run through the album, my takeaway from it was, well, certainly sounds like a Slipknot album. It's not bad. It's one of those albums, and tell me what you think about this, Robert, where, bands sometimes develop a particular sound, and you hear their album, and it sounds like something that, it's definitely their sound. They have achieved their sound, but they haven't really gotten anywhere outside of that box. So it's not bad. It's just nothing you haven't heard before.
Well, yeah. I was actually, when I listened to this album all the way through, I listened to it through twice today. And my thoughts on it pretty much, depending on from song to song, I was like, okay. I like the stuff that leaned more towards Iowa, because this was almost like a midpoint between Iowa and Subliminal Verses. And I was like, okay, the main single, Devil and I, I'm like, okay, this is kind of boring, samey Slipknot that I already kind of knew. And they really didn't do anything new this album, but I think they did a nice middle point. And they did have a few new things. I actually like this album, surprisingly, even though I'm really tired of Slipknot's fans. I'm telling you, every girl from high school, all the big girls, all of them had a Slipknot shirt. Just saying.
You should not let that prejudice you.
Oh no, I'm not prejudicing really. Well, okay, yes, I am prejudicing against their fans because they annoy me. They're kind of
you are really foolish.
They're like the fans that are those fools that are if CM Punk's not here, wrestling shitty. Yeah, they're oh, if it's not Slipknot, it sucks.
All right, let's go ahead and listen to the first track here. We're about 15 minutes into the podcast, and I'm sure people who listen to the show just well, as much as I love to hear Mark listen to the sound of his own voice, I came here for music. Play it. This is Slipknot 19. This is track 1. go ahead and go right into track 2 because, that's how this works. One goes right into 2, and we'll talk about them both. This is track 2, Sarcastroke. So it's funny you should mention that this has felt like a cross between Iowa and the Subliminal Verses. Critical response to this section on the Wikipedia page says that the Gray chapter received very positive reviews. Most critics noted and praised the return of their older sound from Slipknot in Iowa while maintaining the melodies the band explored in Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses. And I think that's a pretty fair description. Most of the scores on this were pretty high, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 9 out of 10, 7 out of 10, across the board here in terms of reviews from various publications. So, at least with the critics, they hit this one out of the park. It's probably the influence from Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses, that I think makes this not a favorite of mine. I like the strict Iowa sound on Slipknot. I'm not a huge fan of, as my friend and I said, the emo version of Slipknot that came out in Volume 3. But, they didn't write it just for me. So we got these first two tracks here. Give me some feedback here, Coopster.
Well, track 1 was kind of eh. It actually reminded me of an Eckercock song because of all that kind of almost Middle Eastern sound that they had in the background.
I was actually going to say that real quick. As I'm listening to it, I'm just like, Slipknot doing their best impression of Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, there's an Eckercock song that does exactly like a very similar thing to that. That song's actually a lot cooler. But yeah, I was like, okay, this is okay. And then, is it Sarcastrophe? Is that the song? Yeah. I liked that song once I got going. It reminded me of something from Iowa, which made me happy. I'm thinking maybe the fact that Troy Taylor does Stone Sour like fucking 5 times, like hell, like 50 times more than he does Slipknot in terms of new output. I'm thinking maybe he got some of that kind of poppy bullshit out of his brain doing Stone Sour. I mean, Stone Sour is a fine band, but a lot of Slipknot songs started just sounding like Stone Sour. So I'm kind of happy they went back to a more aggressive sound in some of their songs. Like there's some songs here that sound like they would fit just right on All Hope Is Gone or Subliminal Verses. But yeah, this was a nice starter. I was impressed. I'd listen to it again. Actually, well, I already have. So.
All right. That brings us to track 3. This is AOV. Approaching original violence. So one of the things I've always liked about Slipknot is their ability to create extremely heavy rhythmic music without descending all the way into that sort of simplistic death metal. They really kind of created their own take on the death metal genre, and I always thought they were pretty creative, and so I've enjoyed a lot of their heavier music. Their more mainstream songs, they vocally at least, lyrically, they shy away from that death metal sound, and you get clean vocals. Wait and Bleed being, one of the most prominent ones. That was certainly a radio hit, and that was all about clean vocals, that song. They kind of screamed most of the verses, and then they'd get to the chorus, and it was all clean singing.
Just like a metalcore band.
What was that?
I said just like a metalcore band.
Just like a metalcore. Yeah, that's not unfair. But like I said, Slipknot, I think, was heavier than your average metalcore band. I thought, I thought they were also more creative with their style of music. This one, it's kind of more of the same. They released this one as a single, as a digital download. Approaching Original Violence. What was your thoughts here?
It was a song. Like, it's cool to hear them do a little speedier, thrashier stuff with some of the death metal influence, but yeah, I did have those song choruses, which, that's not a surprise. I come to expect that from them at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't expect them to ever go full Iowa. They never go full Iowa. Because they have such a fan base. Actually, a large part of the fan base, I feel, is built around those last two albums. So,
sure.
You know,
I think in a lot of ways that mirrors Metallica. You know, Metallica had sort of core fans that came up with the first, 4 albums, 4.5 albums, and then they made so many more fans when they put out a more mainstream sort of hard rock album in the Black Album.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, whatever they did from that point on, they were going to have to deal with 2 different sets of fans. Some would stay, some would go, depending on what it was Metallica was doing. I mean, if you were a fan of the Black Album, you might not have been a fan of the most recent Metallica album. They are working on a new one, but, Death Magnetic was certainly a return to the earlier style of Metallica music, and maybe they didn't retain the Black Album fans. Of course, they've now, they've been around for so long. I think a lot of Metallica fans will just, pretty much accept whatever they put out. And Slipknot may be going in that direction, where they'll retain their fans like me who really do prefer their heavier stuff, but are at least willing to tolerate the kind of music they were putting out that garnered more mainstream notoriety.
Yeah. With Metallica, I'll actually bring up Metallica. It's a really good point. I actually think it's funny that just like Metallica, they've started reverting more back to their original sound. Because, I think actually Metallica would be stupid not to do that. Kind of like how Megadeth did that. God damn it, Dave. Fucking moron. But, Death Magnetic pretty much was like hey, we're sorry for Saint Anger. We pissed you guys off. Here, have something that feels like it should have came out right before the Black Album. And that's what we got. It was pretty good. This one here, I could actually see that almost like how Death Magnetic was the bridge between the two Metallicas. I feel like this is almost the bridge between the two Slipknots. Except, well...
I think it's a really accurate... I think it's a very accurate description. All right, this is track 4. This is one of their big singles. This is one we did a video for. This is The Devil in I. That's got radio written all over it.
God, it reeks of radio hit. I'm actually angry at myself because, as I said on Facebook, it's really catchy and I find myself singing it, but I'm not proud of that fact because this song is really bland.
Yeah, it's if you could write a non-offensive Slipknot song, it would sound like The Devil and I.
Yeah, that's the entire guitar line right there. It's not very creative, musically, lyrically. It's just meh. There's nothing special about this song, but fucking Slipknot does manage to get into your head sometimes. So, yeah, I find myself going back to this song more, but I'm not proud of it. It's like a coke addiction. The song is a coke addiction. Yeah, I keep coming back to it, but I'm not proud of it, and I really would like to kick that habit because I have much better things to do with my life.
So, it's funny, you talk about songs that get into your head. My wife, we're big fans of Family Guy here in this house, and occasionally my wife will yell to me whenever there's, Family Guy's a pretty musical show, despite it all. And she'll yell to me whenever there's a musical bit on that both of us find funny. And it's happened twice now in the past 24 hours. Now, I know that you love Cats like an old woman. And I can tell you.
Believe it.
You're welcome. I can tell you that my wife was haunting me for a cat for a while, and then she decided maybe not. But then a kitten became available for free. So we ended up with it. We now have a cat. We have well, it'd be more accurate to say we have a kitten. And I told her that I was not a fan of this idea. I didn't want any more pets. We had to give away 2 dogs for a variety of reasons, and after that, I was like, I would prefer just not to have any pets in this house. I don't want to have to keep giving away pets that we can't take care of. But cats are not dogs. Cats are not as needy as dogs. Cats are pretty self-sufficient. So. I was more accepting of the idea of getting a kitten than obviously dogs. I was flat out against that. So we got this kitten, and I said my one stipulation for getting a kitten was that we name it Maud, because of the Family Guy gag, and because I wanted to say to people that my family is myself, Melissa, Lily, Jonas, and then there's Maud. Now, maybe some of you listening to that don't really get it, but that's a reference to an old television show called Maude. And the Family Guy bit was, which sort of sparked the whole thing, was they did a gag where Peter watches an old episode of Maude where they did an extended opener, and the theme song just goes on forever, and to the point where at the end of it he was like, "Well, that was an ordeal," and then turns it off. The other one was they're out camping in the woods, and Peter is playing songs on his guitar, and he starts singing about Brokeback Mountain. So yes, we have been known to sing around the house, and they're having butt sex. Da 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 da. They're having butt sex. Sodomy. Exactly.
Sodomy, the whole sodomy joke. Even though I've never actually seen, I think I've seen that episode, but not much.
Yeah, it was just on. My wife likes to watch like repeats of shows as she goes to sleep, just for the sound and the noise. So it was on TBS. TBS reruns two of her favorite shows, so we watch a lot of TBS in this house: The Big Bang Theory and Family Guy.
Sounds like fun.
All right. Speaking of fun, let's hear track 5. This is Kill Pop. I like the chorus of that. Other than that, it's kind of meh.
Yawn. There you go. That was boring, and I like slow things.
Yeah, I didn't think that. It was, again, to me, I think that they've got it backwards. I would rather them scream most of the song and then do the clean choruses. And this one, the last two songs, they've got this tendency to want to sing the entire song and then just scream the chorus. And it's like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's not, this song's very, okay, it can leave now. Bye-bye. Stuck around for a long time.
All right. I think, if I recall correctly, this is one of those albums where you're just waiting for it to start picking up and sound, and grow some balls, and it does towards the latter half of the album. So let's start cutting into that section of it. This is track number 6. This is Skeptic.
You were a gift.
that one's got some balls to it. You know, we finally get an aggressive Slipknot song that doesn't devolve into, into the clean vocals or the emo mainstream type of sound that they keep playing around with. This one's just kind of all balls out and aggressive, and the kind of Slipknot we've come to love and enjoy.
This is This is a really kind of a sweet song in a really bro-tastic, douchey way. I mean, isn't it? Like, I'm pretty sure this one's the Paul Gray. Pretty sure. And it's like, you know, you were like the best guy ever, and you're like the craziest motherfucker ever. And I'm imagining some guy in an affliction shirt with his tribal tattoos going like, being at a funeral, being like, guys, he was the craziest motherfucker ever. It's still a really sweet song, and I like it for that. And it kind of did drag a bit, but I liked it just because it like they kept repeating that he was the craziest motherfucker like ever. But you know, I guess this is how Slipknot does tribute. Cool. I mean, this was definitely.
I wonder what made him the craziest motherfucker ever. Did he wear his underwear backwards? You know, did he smash beer cans on his head? Was he an extra good? You know, was he a great player of World of Warcraft? What made him crazy? I want to know what their definition of crazy is.
I think he challenged Ming to a fight.
He challenged who to a fight?
Ming, the wrestler, Haku.
Gotcha.
The guy that was. The guy that was so terrifying, he once this fucking pushed a guy through two sets of doors with one hand.
My favorite memory of Ming from WCW was when he puffed out his afro and he was sort of like Prince Iakea's, or whoever ended up becoming Kiwi, which may have been Prince Iakea, I don't remember. But whoever ended up becoming Kiwi in the latter parts of Nitro, they had Ming as sort of their heavy. So whenever things got out of hand, they would, you know, whoever, I think it was Charmel or whoever was with that particular wrestler would yell out, you know, code Bad Hair Day, you know, Operation Bad Hair Day, and he would come out running, just wreck whoever was harming them. I am probably smashing together several memories here, but I do remember code Bad Hair Day.
I'm going to start using that one. Apparently the reason he was never fired from WCW is because everybody was afraid to do it. Like, there's How Tough Is Mang, and there's an entire page of like stories from like Arn Anderson and Bobby Heenan and Eric Bischoff about like just how fucking terrifying Mang is.
Yeah, I don't think anyone ever tried to stab him with a pair of scissors.
I think he said he got into what was it? He got into a fight with a guy who called wrestling fake. He bit the guy's nose off right then and there, and they cleared the bar.
Yeah. The two infamous Ming stories are biting off the nose, and then I think he broke a guy's jaw by ripping out like his bottom palate.
Yeah, he like used his fingers and just broke the guy's jaw right there. And there was another one where he bit like a chunk out of a guy's back.
Yeah, that's a bad motherfucker right there.
Yeah, you don't fuck with him. He's like the Wu-Tang Clan.
All right, track 7. Let's.
I know why Judas wept, motherfucker!
Let's just move on. to track number 8. Interesting place to put this one. This is normally you would put this one at the end, considering the title. This is called Goodbye.
Come on over, come unglued. It's not easy to see all of you. Help yourself, help us on the way. Well, there's nothing, so now I have something to say. Maybe we can all recognize a moment of silence.
Oh boy. This is an interesting thing because the first one, I'm screaming, I know why Judas wept, and then it gets really fast, and then it stops, and you're like, oh boy. And it only goes about 90 seconds, so that's one issue. And then you go into this next one, and, we're into this slow jam. 4 minutes and 35 seconds of a song that probably should have capped off the album, but we've still got several more to go here. And it's like, you've already given us so many tracks with clean vocals and a slower tempo than we're accustomed to with Slipknot. I find that this is sort of an odd choice, and definitely an odd tracking choice.
Yeah, I thought this would have been the Paul Gray ballad. Well, yeah, this was, it was okay. Like, it's not the worst ballad on this album, that's for sure, but it drags and it's really unnecessary. This is the opposite of how Death Magnetic was, how there was a little bit of old Metallica in that, but for the most part, or new Metallica, it was mostly old Metallica. This is like a little bit of old Slipknot, but more new Slipknot.
Yeah, I feel like, like there was a conscious effort to go, okay, well, we want to make money, and we want to retain the Hot Topic crowd and their kids. See what I did there?
Yeah.
But we also want to kind of return to our heavier roots. So it's like they're trying to find that middle ground, and it's a bit scattershot, a bit buckshot. They're kind of all over the target. And that's what I'm getting from this album. They don't seem to know where the line is, and this was an attempt to find that line, and I don't think they ever really got it.
Yeah, I think they kind of missed the boat on what's a good medium, but they tried.
This is try. Go ahead.
I said they'll catch it next time, in like 8 years.
All right, this is track 6. This is Nomadic.
It's codependent, right now.
I liked that song better when it was Wait and Bleed.
Really? Like, I was like, this kind of reminds me of, something from the first Slipknot album. And then I'm like, kind of reminds me of Wait and Bleed, which is actually a really good song, though not as good as VH1 put it. They were like, yeah, the 36th best metal song of all time.
All right, they need to stop.
They need
to fucking get a hold of themselves. That's ridiculous.
This was like 2008, I think. Yeah, they put Welcome to the Jungle as the second best song, which I'm like, I am so tired of that song. Like, they had a few surprises, like Refuse Resist by Sepultura, but for the most part, it was like, no, not really. Like, they had one Megadeth song. That's about it. And, I mean, yeah, Sabbath was number one. That's good, but it wasn't the best.
I'm okay with Welcome to the Jungle. I'm okay with Welcome to the Jungle being number 2. I am not okay with Wait and Bleed being anywhere under 50.
Yeah, well, it was only a top 40. Yeah,
still too low.
And they only had one Slayer song.
I'm not okay with that either.
Like, you can tell it was. I'm like, okay, because like when I first got into metal, I thought that list was like be all end all. I'm like, okay, like yeah, they know their shit. And now that I know about metal, I'm like, no, not at all. I'm like,
no.
Like, there's some great picks here, and there's some stuff like Master of Puppets was number 3, and I'm like, dude, fuck yeah, of course. But there's other stuff. Like, no. Like, you could have done a lot better, but they kind of did that thing that a lot of those mainstream, like, Countdown do. They just picked the singles. Yep.
Yeah. So I got some breaking news here. Breaking news to announce on the Metal Hammer of Doom. And it's going to be much to Robert Cooper's chagrin.
Ooh. I think I know what it is.
Breaking news. March of the Disco Elephants by Limp Bizkit is not coming out in 2014.
Oh.
It'll be coming out somewhere between March and April of 2015. So look for that here on the Metal Hammer of Doom next year.
Fuck. Oh well. As long as we have our the other end of the bargain, we'll review the folk black metal album. Which you never did tell me you liked that album.
Yeah, I never listened to it. I mean, like, I have it saved on my Spotify playlist, and I have to tell you, lately, I've just been driving home in silence.
Oh, that sounds fun.
It's been that kind of month. October and November were a tad stressful, and we'll see what happens once we get to December. But lately, I've needed to just not hear the sound of human voices for an hour.
Just nice, quiet, silence. It's good.
Yeah, it's been a Depeche Mode kind of 2014. I have enjoyed the silence. And while you think about that one, here is track 10, The One That Kills the Least.
What I hate, and I'll see way down.
enough of that.
Oh, that's a good microwavable burrito. Anyways, yeah, another song. But you know what I was wondering the other day? Is Corey Taylor just like the biggest bitchy douchebag or what? Like him being like so pissed off the media figured out who his bassist and drummer were for this album. Look, he was like, he fucking like shit his little pantaloons over it. He's like, oh, they weren't supposed to know. Oh, they're not official members of the band. Ugh. Like, shut up, you fucking twats. Like, Jesus. You had, like, they had, like, forever to figure out who are they going to pick. And instead, they're still like, yeah, we're not going to get engaged. We've been married together for, like, 4 years, but I ain't giving you no ring. Like, it just astounds me.
The guys in Slipknot, I think, take themselves a little too seriously.
No shit. Have you ever read anything that the clown guy does? Like, he fucking thinks he's awesome. So it's funny that Jim Root got booted from Stone Sour. Not because he got booted, which, I mean, sucks. He's a talented guitarist. It's just kind of funny that he's still in Slipknot, and I don't know how he functions knowing that he got booted from the other band. So I'd be pissed off. I think Corey Taylor was the problem, but still. I'd fucking, like, take a flaming deuce or something and put it on somebody's doorstep.
Okay. This next one, another single that they put out, another digital download. This one came out October 10th. And the song begins with percussionist Sean Crahan describing what the tempo of the song should be. The track then transgresses into one that is deeper and more forceful, opening the composition. The song contains occasional alarms of high pitch with lead vocalist Corey Taylor speaking in the manner of a radio announcer. Oh boy. Let's see what we got here.
I have this one. This is that, this is that, this is that. Yeah!
This might seem like an odd description. Maybe I'm reaching here. I'll let you be the judge. I'm going to let you decide, Mr. Robert Cooper. But it's like when a kid learns a curse word for the first time, and they're just so eager to say it. They're just kind of. Or Robert Klein, the first time he did an HBO special, and this is actually the first HBO special ever. I actually think I've told this story. Where he was so happy to be able to curse on national television or cable television that he just blurts out "fuck."
That reminds me of that movie Catch Me If You Can, where Leonardo DiCaprio's character watched TV and he just wanted to figure out a time when he could say "I concur." Yep. Like, cursing in music is a thing. Like, it happens. It does bring levity to songs, depending on when they need it. But this is just getting into the point of, like, shut up, you fucking douchebag.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that song seemed very forced.
It really was. Like, not to mention the beginning, I'm like, oh, boy, I liked it better when Phil Anselmo did it.
Yeah, not particularly original.
No, or
and it's like that bro kind of aggression. We've talked about this before. There's natural aggression, where there's we are actually moved by a situation or by a series of circumstances. Then there's that bro kind of aggression where it's aggression for aggression's sake, and it's sort of meaningless and hollow. And I would tell you that last song was very meaningless and hollow.
It's very progressive. It smells very much of bro down.
It's a bro down. It's a hoedown at the bro down.
Yeah, straight edge.
All right. Rob, we are tearing this album apart, and we better be prepared for hell. Track 12. Okay, let's forget we ever heard that and just move on to track 13. This is the negative one.
With a target on my back
Yeah, that sounds like a Slipknot song.
Yep. It's a solid song. Like, it's funny. Like, we were like, yeah, this album's pretty decent. And then as we're going through it, we're like, yeah, whatever. It's a Slipknot song. Nothing really all that special.
Well, it's funny. There are albums that if there's background noise, they're okay. But if you scrutinize them, like if you really start to sort of pick through it, you're like, oh, this is not particularly strong. This is one of those albums. This was a lot better in the car while I was thinking about other things, and it was just in the background. And I didn't have to kind of focus on it and scrutinize it. And, like I said this on the WrestleCast last night, which you can find on thecasualheroes.com. I said, talking about wrestling, I said, most people are not scrutinizing it the way we are, so they'll enjoy. It's safe to enjoy the product as it is. Because there's enough things that are entertaining going on that they're not going to focus on some of the stuff that is not particularly entertaining. But when you're like us and you're scrutinizing every aspect of it, you're going to find a lot wrong with the product. But we are in the minority, not the majority.
Yeah, it is one of those, like, it's a lot better when you're not really focusing on it. Like, some of these albums, like, I feel like if we reviewed it as an album instead of song by song, I think they'd come up better. Because some of these albums that we've done were just like, that's a song, and then the next song, it's a song, and the next song, like, yeah, I liked it, but it was a song. Like, I think this album is much better when you look at it as a whole, because there are some standout moments, and there's some interesting songs, and there's some stuff that's, like, good, and there's some songs that are just mediocre.
Taken as a whole, it's a stronger album than song by song, but song by song is how we do here on the Metal Hammer of Doom, and by that token, it's not as strong an album as it could have been.
Oh yeah, this could have used some editing, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of editing, we have one last song here. Track 14. If Rain Is What You Want. So that's our album. I can't take it anymore. That is Slipknot, The Great Chapter. I would give this a B minus, a generous B minus. Robert Cooper, your thoughts?
As I kind of actually, it's funny. I did the whole album in like context thing before this last song. And like I said, this album as a whole is much better as this album in parts. Now, if I could take this album in parts and kind of do what I do when I like I did the past 2 years, not this year, because I've not really done much with metal, because life. Like if I could condense this down to like the best songs and the best moments, I feel like this album would definitely be a lot stronger than, you know, some of the other albums I've listened to this year. This isn't the worst album. It's better than I expected it to be. And it's got a lot of promise to it, but the thing is I'm not really that hopeful at the end of the day, because it took them 6 years. 6 years to make a new album. And I'm really not that hopeful that they're going to make one until another 6 years, because I mean Corey Taylor's pretty successful. He's become even more popular as just a person. Such a douchebag. God, such a bro. But like this like the band is their thing. This album was super duper successful, and that's good. That's good on them. The reviews were solid. I'd probably give it about 7.5 out of 10, because even though we've complained a lot about the whole scream sing thing, that's really kind of just a stylistic thing that when you take it and kind of accept it, that's going to happen. I feel like you'll be better off for it, because there's good stuff there. It's just some of the structure of it's like, all right, whatever. And there's some songs that are just like, whatever. Like The Devil and I is endlessly catchy but really shitty. Like it's like when Jesse posted the lyrics, like that part of the song, and I'm like yes, I went immediately to my head and sang it, but then the analytical side of me was just like, God, this is like fucking cotton candy. It really is. Like it's pretty much structureless, purely sweet, and horrible for me. Not to mention, if I licked it, it would just disintegrate. So, yeah, about a 7.5 out of 10. It's a good album. It's not like the best thing ever, but you know what? Looking at it subjectively, I think it turns out pretty solid. Like, you know, it's funny because if I were still writing my column and I gave this a pretty decent score, I'm kind of interested in seeing what people would say, because, you know, I actually got like some kudos from people like, you know, this is a real metal column because you don't focus on Slipknot and shit. I'm like, you know, I mention them, and if they have news, I'll talk about it. But they're not really my thing. Like, you know, that's the thing I really care too much about. And I kind of feel like that's how this album is. Like, you know, I acknowledge that there's solid points and that they've got some good stuff. Like, there's a few good solos. Like, that one song, Goodbye, was kind of meh, but the solo when it was good. Like Jim Root and what's his face? Fuck. The guy with the awesome mask. I don't fucking remember it, but the really tall one with that sweet ass like awesome mask. I wish I had that mask. Like, yeah, like those guys, good guitarists, they do a good job. And yeah, this album does get a little new metal-y at times. But you know, it's solid. It's good. 7.5 out of 10. Not as good as Orange Goblin, but what do you expect?
Okay. In 2 weeks, I will be taking another night off. I'm going to hand the reins over to Coop and Jesse Starcher. They are going to adjust, and because it's Thanksgiving, and I will not be here to man the controls, I gave the job to Jesse Starcher, host of Source Material, and he decided I let him pick the album. Since I wasn't going to be on Thanksgiving, I got other shit to do. They're going to be doing the new Scar Symmetry. Jesse Starcher has been chomping at the bit to do this one. So, and Bradley Cooper's very excited about it.
Like, we got to throw him a bone. Like, you know, he's been like our fucking like fanboy and cheerleader and like our straight up bro for like past like year and a half, 2 years. Like, we'll throw him a bone.
No, I have no problem with that.
You
know, he's been loyal, and you know, he's started his own show, and his show is getting very popular. You know, at least for this network. So, yeah, I have no problem with that. I mean, listen, my thing has always been, if you want to sort of do your own thing, as long as you don't bother me, you know, as long as you're not like needy and constantly up my ass about it, you know, go do it. You know, God bless you. And if you're more popular than I do, God bless you even more. So, I wasn't going to do a show on Thanksgiving for sure. And he was like, oh, well, I'll do a show. And I'm like, okay, well, then I don't give a shit if you guys, review a Jerky Boys album for all I care. It's your show. Do what you want to do.
And that we will do. Yeah, I try not to be needy. Usually Jesse comes to me like, hey, did you get your Sunset Rider posted? I'm like, yeah, finally. Because I'm the only floating show on the network, so I just kind of got to squeeze in there when I can.
Well, I think the Screaming Boy is also kind of whenever there's room, whenever there's time.
Yeah. So we got two floaters. We're the two turds in the pool.
Two turds. All right. So check out in 2 weeks Scar Symmetry. Now there was supposed to be a Long Road to Ruin a week from tonight with Jason Offit, who came on and did Aliens and Predators and Aliens vs. Predators with us at the beginning of the year. Going to have him on to do Star Trek 2, 3, and 4. That may still be happening. That may not be happening. As I said, my schedule is really screwed up right now. I'll give you a little inside dope. I was hired by a new company, and I don't start until this Tuesday. And I don't know how long I'm going to be in training for. If I'm in training all week, then I'll have it'll be at its normal time. If I'm only training a day or two and then they want to start me at the hours I was initially hired for, then we may not be doing a show at all because I don't get out of work until 11 o'clock. However, starting December 1st, throw all that out the window because I'll be working 12-hour shifts, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., on 2 days, off 2 days, on 3 days, off 2 days. If you're a member of the law enforcement community, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, or if you're a nurse in a correctional facility, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't, then just know that I'm either working till 7 o'clock or I'm not working at all. But that doesn't start until December 1st, and that is why I don't want to keep planning shows, because I have no idea what I'm doing. Until December 1st. I don't know what rotation I'll be on, so I don't know which days I'm off and which days I'm working. Because it's not just, planning the show. I have to then watch the movies, and I don't know when I'm going to have time to do that. So I'll know a little bit more on Tuesday, and, if you're like, oh, my God, I have to hear Mark Radulich talk about Star Trek, well, then I'll know a little bit more by Thursday morning.
And in the meantime, that hard, there's our podcast where Mark has talked about Star Trek before, so there you go.
If worst comes to worst, the show will be that show itself will be, because I still want to do it. I just don't know when I'm going to do it. It'll be postponed until 2015. The Lord of the Rings show is not happening at this point. I think we're going to review the Battle of the Five Armies when that comes out December 17th, Robert Winfrey and I. But as far as doing a Long Road to Ruin Lord of the Rings trilogy, again, it was something I wanted to do this year with the change in schedule and my wife sort of not really being available unless she's not working. It's hard to schedule at this point. So I'll probably put it off until maybe next year sometime when there's time to sit there and watch 12 hours of it.
All the walking and the walking and the walking.
And the walking. In the meantime, the one show I am doing every week consistently is the WrestleCast. I know the last couple of shows, from what I've been told, were not great. One show I was on NyQuil, so I was.
Oh God!
I was a little drugged up. And then the show after that, we were not tremendously cooperative, and the show kind of got unwieldy. But this last show called Effort, because we put effort into it, was
like,
quite
all right,
good.
we're not gonna suck.
Yeah, well, it was kind of a conscious effort on everyone's part to actually be mature about the show and not be assholes. So I've been consistently doing the WrestleCast, and the latest one is in fact up because we did not threaten to murder the president or yell racial slurs or anything else. So Chris did not have to spend multiple days trying to edit the thing together. So go ahead and check that out. And if you're wondering what happened to the Whiskey Rebellion, well, as I said before, vacations, exhaustion, changes in schedule, et cetera, we changed the day of the WrestleCast, and by changing the day of the WrestleCast, we kind of, shelved the Whiskey Rebellion until further notice. That will come back in 2015. Again, changing schedules and all of that. It can still happen. I'm just not willing to do it until we get through the holidays and can kind of start fresh with a new schedule. So that's it. That's everything that I'm doing. If you're wondering where Sean Comer went, Sean Comer will be back in February. And that's all the news that's fit to print here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. Coop, what you got going on?
I talked to Sean the other day. It was good. Good to hear from Sean. Love that guy. Anyways, so for me, there's of course this podcast. It's pretty awesome. We're here. Yeah. Really didn't notice Thanksgiving was in 2 weeks. Fuck. Anyways, there's this podcast. There's the Cooperative Multiplayer Podcast that is every Sunday night about 11, 12 o'clock p.m/a.m. About late Sunday nights on the cooperative. I want to say the Wrestling to the Max page on Spreaker.com. Is myself, Sean Garmer, Daniel Anderson, and recently we've got Mark Morrison from the 401 Game Zone on there. He's a pretty cool guy. He's got a lot of knowledge on video games, so it's a fun time. If you ever wonder how I am when I'm just completely silly, like not Three Beards silly, which I don't know when the fuck I knew Three Beards is coming out in a long time anyways. But like, if you just wonder how I am when I'm just completely just kind of silly and trolling, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, like I made a joke about how this game went over about as well as the Challenger, and Sean just completely just lost it laughing, and he's like, "Are you fucking kidding?" He's like, "Really? You made that joke after what happened with that with the Virgin Air, like the Virgin space flight?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know it's a little tasteless, but hey, I mean, it's a fun podcast. We talk video games and whatever else is happening that's video game related, like movies or comics or something, because video games get kind of boring when nothing happens. Though if you've been listening to the past 6 weeks, you can hear me go on about 2 hours total of ranting about why Final Fantasy 13 pissed me off. That was therapeutic. Oh, yeah. I rented that game from the library and played 50 hours of it and didn't beat it. But I did spend a solid 2 hours complaining about it. That's a good trade-off. Gave some good material. There's a lot of fucks to be said. So yeah, that's a thing. Tune in every week. We're pretty consistent. And finally, in terms of my podcast, the Sentai Rider Podcast, pretty good shit. Love it. Hopefully we're going to be recording 2 shows this Sunday if I can get Hunter and hopefully Nick from DTR together. We'll review Kamen Rider Drive and start talking about Garo the animation. So we got some stuff coming up. We got a lot to talk. We have so much to talk about because every time I mean to be getting us off the launching pad and start releasing tons of episodes, I'm like, oh shit, something comes up. So just keep an eye on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Sentai Rider Podcast. That is SENTAIRIGER podcast. Yeah, we try to at least talk to people at least once a week. Fun time. It's a good podcast. lots of tokusatsu. There you go.
All right.
Thanks,
One last thing. In December, our last podcast of the year on the Metal Hammer of Doom, we're going to do a tribute to Weird Al Yankovic. I mean, me, Coop, Jesse Starcher. It'll probably be close to 3 hours, 2 hours live, 1 hour recorded. And then that's it for the year. And in January, we'll take a break through the holidays. And then after the new year, we will, after New Year's Day, we'll start up again with a brand new schedule. Like I said, I dropped Primus off the schedule entirely. Go ahead and listen to it. It's a fun album, but not really worth an entire podcast talking about it. So for the Metal Coop and for Jesse Starcher, wherever you are, this has been the Metal Hammer of Doom. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Be well, be safe, and for God's sakes, don't run anyone over on Black Friday.